Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode. Hello. Welcome to Tuesday. All day long. It's been a very long Tuesday. Very long. But that's okay, because now I'm finished my day job and I get to do my fun job. So with us today, we have Shamayne Olivia. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. And it feels like it should be the end of the week already.
It very much does, and I would be very much okay with that.
Right.
The weekend goes by so quickly. Oh, and now I'm yawning because we're talking about how it's the end of the week. Tired. Um, it goes by in the blink of an eye. Actually, we had my work's holiday party on the weekend, so I was very tired all weekend. It was fun
Hmm.
though because we danced all night long. Um, yeah, it
I
was fun.
remember those days.
I do it once a year, and that's enough for me for now.
I spent my weekend with friends, so
Oh, nice. That's
catching up.
exciting. Nice. So other than that, tell us a little bit about who Shamayne is.
Well, my name is Shamayne Olivia Kotfas. Shamayne Olivia is my author name. I'm an author, facilitator, and creator. I never expected to be an author, but I've got my first book coming out in January, and I also have an accompanying workbook that has already published and is available right now. It's called Shoes That Fit Her Soul.
Oh, that's such a pretty title. But question, why did you have the workbook come out before the book?
That was a publishing issue.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. That
The intent
happens.
was to have the book first and the workbook later, but we got the workbook done first, and the publisher has the book. So,
Okay. It happens. It happens. I was just
mhm.
being nosy.
Oh, that's
Um,
okay.
we get that a lot on this show. Don't come on here if you don't want
It makes
nosy.
more sense, but
Right?
we're gonna launch all of them together. I
That
also
makes
have a
sense.
digital workbook, and we're gonna just launch everything together in
Oh,
March
perfect.
for Women's
Perfect.
History Month.
Oh, that's the perfect. Yeah. Oh, look at you thinking ahead. I never do that. So that's what you do, but who are you in your
Well,
soul?
and yes, who am I? I am a woman of mature age. I'm in my 60s. I'm married to a man in his 40s. And
Oh,
yeah, he's my second husband. But I have three children. I have three grandchildren, and we live
oh,
in Texas. We live in Austin. I like to say
okay.
that, Austin, Texas.
Is
um,
there a difference between Austin, Texas, and the rest of Texas?
Pretty much, yeah,
Okay, good to know.
yeah.
Good to know.
I mean, there's a lot of great things about Texas, but I think Austin is the best. We're the state capital. We're the
Okay.
university, university town. It's just a
Okay.
great place to be. And I went to school here and never left. I grew up in
Oh,
Houston, which is a
okay.
wonderful city too. But so what to know about me is my journey has been one of transformation. Had I met you 10 years ago, or yeah, about 10 years, I am not the same person I was back then. I've had a lot of things happen to me, but I have just faced it and gone through it, and then I decided it was time to work on me. And I did that, and that's where Shoes That Fit Her Soul comes from.
I love the name of that.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you. That came to me in a dream, Randy. It was my desire to share my message with other women, but I wanted to do it in a very practical but imaginative and fun way.
Makes
And
sense.
I was determined to do that, and it took me a long time to figure it out, but came to me finally in a dream.
Oh, I
So,
love that. And we'll
but
talk more about that.
thank you. That, like I said, I didn't expect to be the author and the teacher and the person that I am today, but it was because of my journey. I went, depression runs in our family. My mother was very depressed. I went through a lot of things midlife that caused a lot of depression. And then now one of my children, well, I guess all of them in some way or another have dealt with something, but I have one child in particular, my youngest. Their father, my first husband, was killed in an accident.
Oh my goodness.
And he and I both were 45 at the time. So it's been about 17, almost 18 years since he passed.
Wow.
But my kids were all in their teens, or my daughter was in her early 20s.
Okay.
My two boys were in their teens, and the youngest
Okay.
one has struggled a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, if we get to that. But
Oh, we will.
just so your listeners know, when that all happened, it was devastating. I had lost my job a few years before that. I was
Oh.
faced with so many things that I could have gone a different direction, but I
Mm-hmm.
decided, you know what, I am the only person my kids have right now. I
Yeah.
mean, we had other family members and everyone, but nobody
But it's
loves
not
them.
the same. Yeah.
It's not the same. No one loves your children as much as you do, even as hard as they want to or try.
Yeah.
You're the one who knows them the best, and you're the one who cares about what happens to them the
Yeah.
most.
Oh, yeah.
But I was not in a situation to handle that emotional strain and to
Yeah.
help them through the grief while I was grieving.
Yeah.
There was a lot that I needed to learn about myself, and that event and that tragedy are what got me moving in a direction of who am I? Who really am I, and
Yeah.
who am I meant to be? I had depended on so many other people in my life, and I was codependent and all these other things that I discovered while going to therapy and trying to work
Yeah.
through. Yeah, just trying to name these things. Why does this happen? Why is this? Why is
Yeah.
that? And but I didn't just hear it and then say, okay, that's what's wrong with me. I I listened to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I became very curious about, well, why? How did that happen to me? And I went back and I wanted to study my family history.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that was my first step, was to begin looking at my family history and identifying certain things within my own parents and my grandparents. And then I began reading books. For instance, my father's an alcoholic. It's easy to say, okay, he's an alcoholic and that's who he is. But who he is had an effect on me.
My biggest pet peeve is when people go, "Oh, that's just how they are." But it
No,
doesn't mean it has to be how they are. It means
no,
that we're choosing to turn a blind eye to what's happening and just accepting that they don't have to change or they don't have to work on themselves. Oh, it's one of my biggest pet peeves when people say that because they say it all the stinking time.
all the time. I hear you. I hear you. And you're right. It's one of my pet peeves as well. And especially when, it feels like they're excusing that behavior, but that
Yes.
behavior affected me. And you're diminishing the way I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I can still love him, or I can still, find good things within him that I can appreciate. But what he did, he made a mistake, and it affected his children, and it affected each one of us. My parents, when they were married, had four children. I'm the
Okay.
oldest, and they divorced when I was 8. But even when they divorced, and I write about this in my book, they carried their dysfunction into their homes where they
Yes.
went. Nothing changed. What changed for us was we didn't have to watch them fight anymore. So it was good for us that they split, but
Mm-hmm.
visiting either one of their homes, we're still in that dysfunction. And
Right.
they each had their own.
Exactly. When people, I mean, some people divorce is the answer for them. But when we just kind of brush it to the side, oh, that's just who they are, that's how they are. The dysfunction, like you said, it just continues. Especially, I mean, even as adults, we wouldn't want to have to deal with that. But like especially with kids, is they have to deal with it because they don't have a choice. If it's their parents, where else do they go? Who do they turn to? So
Right.
just because that's how they are doesn't mean that that's how they need to be, and they have to take responsibility and seek help. I'm not saying it's easy. By no
No.
means is change easy, but
Right.
it is necessary.
It's accountability.
Yeah.
And you're right. And that's the choice I made, and for my own children. And okay, I have people tell me, well, they grew up in a different generation,
Oh.
or they didn't have the resources, or this, that, or the. Granted, in this day and age, I did have more resources, but that's not the first thing I thought of. The,
Right?
the first thing
Exactly.
I thought of was, I'm not being a good parent to my children. There's something that I should be doing for them that's better than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I just need to figure it out and make some changes. Then I started searching research, but it was for searching and researching. But the first thing was I decided I needed to change. And but neither one of my parents ever came to that conclusion that they felt like they needed to change who they were,
Yeah.
or change not change the habits and the behaviors that they were showing us and
Yeah.
exemplifying. You just kind of have to know you figure that out. You figure that out first,
Yeah.
and then you find what's available, and that's what I did.
That is fantastic because, yeah, it takes somebody in the family because it's that intergenerational trauma, it's the buzzword, but it's truth.
Hmm.
Um, it takes one person to say, wait, I don't actually have to be like this.
Mm-mm.
I can make things different. I can change and figuring it out, which again, not easy, but so worth it.
It was, yes, it has changed my life. I, I 4 years before he died, I had reached 40 and I began self-reflecting. I think that is a natural part
Common.
of
Yeah.
many people's lives is that they reach that point in their life where they begin to reflect back and then look forward. And
Yeah.
I asked myself, do I want to live the last 20 or do I want to live the next 20 years the way I've lived the last 20 years?
Yeah.
And I didn't say it in a way of, monetary things and what I'd accomplished and the house and the car.
Yeah.
Do I want to, I wasn't talking, I was asking myself truthfully how I felt. Do I want to feel the way I feel now for the next 20 years, or do I want to find something better? And
Yes.
and I guess in the beginning, I might have wanted to blame my circumstances. I
It's
tried
easy
to,
to blame things.
it
That's the
is, it's
easy way
easier to put
out.
it out
Yeah.
there than it is to take it in.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at my husband, and also that was before I knew really anything. I was searching, but I thought, well, did he change? Did he make things worse for us? And he seems to be doing this and doing that. And I was kind of putting the blame out there on him for a while, but
Yeah.
then I realized nothing was changing, nothing was happening. And I got depressed and I just felt unhappy. I'm like, why am I not a happy person? Why do I always feel so dark and glum? And one day my sis, my daughter, my daughter who's been a very bright light in my life, she's my oldest. She was about 15 or so, and she said, Mom, if you're so unhappy, why don't you just leave? And I thought, whoa. But what I thought of, I didn't get offended or mad at her for saying that. What I thought was, wow, if she sees it, I'm not
Right?
doing a good job of hiding this.
Yep, exactly.
And that's when I started going to therapy and questioning things. And my therapist, of course, helped me see that my past had a lot to do with the way I felt at that time. And so I did end up divorcing Michael, but we remained friends, very close, because we had our three children,
Yeah.
and we'd been together 20 years, and so we were, he was one of my best friends. We just weren't a good married couple.
Hmm.
And then 4 years later, he was tragically killed in an accident. It was a cycling accident that he was
Hmm.
riding his bike and was hit by a car.
Oh,
And that's when everything really was upended and changed for me. Because at the time of my divorce, I'd also lost my job.
yes,
And
you were
so
saying that.
I was a single mom I didn't have a job, but I continually worked temp jobs or anything I could do to bring in a paycheck. And it was 4 years later, the day before the accident, I got the job that I had been looking for.
Oh.
And I stayed with that company for 16 years and I retired last year. So it came at the right time. Um, thank goodness I had something to hold on to while I
Yeah.
worked through all this other stuff.
Yeah. Oof. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, so I know there's a few other things that you want to discuss. Um, but before we do that, now, even though you were divorced, like you said, you guys were such good friends. How did you grieve during that, especially being a parent who then has to be there and comfort the children? And as a parent, all you ever want to do is make their hurt go away, but you're hurting, trying to make their hurt go away. How did you manage that?
Oh, that's a great question because at the time I didn't know what I was going to do. And I eventually came to the point where I just needed to be in the wait and see position of, there's three different human beings here. And just like if you have siblings, you're different from your siblings,
Yes.
right? So, and each of us all have our own needs.
Mm-hmm.
So and also they're at this stage in life, they're at different stages in their life. They're 15, 18. One just finished high school, and the other one had been in a year of college. So it was like they were in three different places. I just kind of tried to be aware and alert to each one of them, hear what they were telling me, and then for my grief, if they were at school, tell you one thing I did. I had about 45-minute to hour commute to work.
Okay.
And I used that time to just cry my eyes out. I'm
Yeah.
a crier, and crying for me relieves that tension. I would
Yeah.
turn on a song that reminded me of Michael, and I would cry the whole way to work.
Yeah.
And I wondered what other drivers were thinking.
So you didn't put on any mascara.
Right? I waited till I got to the office to do
Yeah, exactly.
that. Yeah, I mean, that was just one thing I did, but I did a lot of I had a lot of introspective thoughts and, self-reflection.
Yeah.
As moms, you just do it.
Right.
You just figure it out on the cuff, on the fly, and you just do it.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean we just get up and just dust off and keep going and we're
Right.
fine. We dust off, we stand up, but we're struggling, but we still do it one step at a time.
I love that. And on that note, also, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily doing what's right. And I don't mean that in a negative way. What I mean is hindsight is 2020. So you
Yes,
get up, you dust off, you do what you have to do, and down the road you might look back and go, "Oh, now that I know what I know now, I would have done it different."
yeah,
And I mention this because this is a big part of grieving or of raising kids in general is that we look back and go, "Well, crap. I should have." But did you have that knowledge back then? And the answer is probably no, or else you
no,
would have done what you're thinking about now. And so just releasing that guilt of what you think you should have done, even though you didn't have the skills or the knowledge to have done that back then. That is such a
right,
big thing that I'm talking. So I'm rewriting my book about my brother's death, and that's one of the biggest topics in this rewrite is just because I know it now doesn't mean I know it then. And that's
right,
exactly what you're saying. You dust off, you do the best that you can with your kids, and what you know now is different than what you know then, but at least you tried your very best, and that's all we can
right.
ever do. So
That's
release the
right.
guilt. That is the point.
Release
Release
the
the guilt.
guilt. And I talk to my children individually about it too.
Oh, good.
And
Yeah.
and my youngest who really went through a lot of the depression and um, uh, PTSD, he had complex, things like that. We didn't know it at the time, but that's what he was developing, and that's where he was going. And we talk about that today, and we both admit neither one of us knew what we were doing at that time. and we did the best we could. Now, I've always, made sure they felt loved and accepted and, all the things that I did know how to do, or
Yeah.
at least the best I knew how to do for those things, right?
Yes.
At that time. I mean, one of the things my daughter, of course they're going to be angry that their dad is gone. And at
Yeah.
first I had survivor's guilt and I thought, oh, they wish I was gone because I'm the basket case here.
But yeah, that's a very typical response.
And you really feel guilty that you're still here and it's hard to enjoy your life and because you don't want to make it look like you're having all this great fun and they're no longer with their dad.
Yeah.
So I did, try to keep things to myself, and I would discuss it with people I trusted. But my daughter, told me one day, she goes, Mom, we don't want either one of you gone. We're here, we're mourning him, but if you were gone, we'd be mourning you, and we don't want either one of you gone. And so a lot of times when I knew that the anger was coming up, and it wasn't about the situation, it was probably what she had held inside from
Yeah.
that. I would let her just yell at me and scream at me. And my second husband, Craig, he would ask me, "How do you let her talk to you that way?" And I'm like, "Because she's hurting,
Yeah.
and I'm her safe space."
That's what I was gonna say. As parents, we are their safe space, or we should be their safe space. And so when they need to let out big emotions, sometimes we just gotta take it. Doesn't make it easy. It means we're usually gonna go to the bathroom and cry ourselves.
Yes,
Um, but
yes.
but that's what you do is you take their hurt and make it your own hurt so that they can feel better.
So they can feel better and they'll learn because now my daughter has children and she
Yes.
understands.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That hindsight being 2020 thing. I know I look back now that I'm a parent. I go, oh, that's why that happened and why she. Okay, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, yeah. I never wanted to break ties with her. I never wanted to burn those bridges and be
Hmm.
that mother that I had. My mother was angry a lot. And if we tried to go to her with big emotions, she couldn't handle that. I
Yeah.
know that today. I know that as I grew and transformed, I could look at my own mom and her depression and her resentment for her life, and it wasn't
Yes.
about me. She made it about her, you
Yep.
know. And it was impossible for her to feel those big feelings. So if I brought my feelings to her, she got angry. Um, I felt like it was anger towards me, but really what she was angry on the inside was that she didn't know how to handle it. And so her response would be, I'm a horrible mother. You kids never appreciate anything, those kinds of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Very, very typical of people who can't understand big emotions
Hmm.
and think that everything is, directed at them personally as opposed to
Yes.
big emotions and not understanding how to get them out and, you're who I am supposed to feel safe with, so I'm going to get these big emotions out with you, but now you're not understanding them.
You
So,
can't, right.
and then that
Because
that
you haven't
creates,
dealt with your own.
yeah.
I had to start seeing both of my parents at the age where I felt like they experienced their trauma in their life or where they got stuck,
Oh, okay,
and
yep.
then begin talking to them on that level. And it wasn't to be condescending or, they didn't know.
Mhm.
But, my mom was stuck around an 8-year-old little girl,
Yeah.
and my dad was stuck around an 11-year-old teenager whose dad abandoned him.
Yep.
And so I just had to talk to them on those levels with those emotion, what kind of emotions do 8-year-olds understand at that?
Yes. Exactly. And that's a really hard thing to understand, especially if you're a young kid. The older we get and the more that we become in tune with ourselves and through therapy, we can look and go, okay, now I understand you, so I can talk to you and understand you in that way.
Right.
It makes a big difference, but it's not something that you get to easily.
No, it's not. It takes it. That's why they say it's doing the work within yourself because you're really the one that has to figure it out. And it's up to you. My relationship with my parents was not always good. But
Mm-hmm.
I decided as they got older and as I figured things out, I didn't want to cut them out of my life completely, but I could certainly set boundaries with them. And,
Yes.
and I could certainly learn how to talk. It was me doing this because I wanted to spare the relationship. I wasn't looking for their approval anymore. I wasn't needing them to take care of me anymore. I had learned how to do that for myself. And now, if I wanted to keep that relation open, then I just had to learn a new way of communicating with them. And
Yeah.
I accomplished that late in their lives. My dad is still alive, he's 90.
Oh, wow.
And my mother, bless her heart, she passed just a couple of years ago. But before she passed and before my dad passes, I wanted to have a healthy relationship with them without compromising my values and my feelings, but
Mm-hmm.
just have an open line of communication. And that's what I did. I didn't talk to them all the time, but I talked
Yep.
to them enough. And
Which is perfect, right? Setting the boundaries where you can be, everybody still be in each other's lives, but not to the point of hurting each other.
right,
That's
right,
wonderful.
right. And it worked because they started talking to me in a different tone
Yep.
and in a different way, and almost respecting me in a way that they didn't respect me. I don't think they were all that aware of it. I think it
Yeah.
was kind of worked into that with them. And even to the point where one time my mom went into one of her little rages because I didn't agree with her on something. And she screamed at me, "You owe me because I'm your mother." How many times have people probably heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I don't owe my parents anything. They brought me in. It was about who I owe is my daughter and my sons. I owe
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yes.
And so I said that to her. I said, "Mom, I don't owe you anything. And my daughter happened to be there. I said, I owe her everything." She didn't know what to say. And she got all flustered and just left the room.
Right? Yeah, that seems pretty typical.
But I didn't do it to hurt her. I was just saying, hey, slow down there. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't owe you anything. Get that
Yep.
in your head. I owe my daughter and my sons and my grandchildren, everyone after. Those are the ones I owe.
Yeah.
And she did too, but she didn't learn how to do that. But that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I don't resent her for that. I felt bad. I felt sorry for her that she never got to live a full life.
Yeah. Exactly. So I know there is something important that you want to talk about, being the parent to a child who is going through some mental
Yes.
health. Yeah.
And I don't want to diminish the heartache and the hurt that my older two were going through.
Yeah.
Because when you have someone in your family that has mental health um, challenges, and they tend to get a lot of the attention,
Yes.
whether intentional or unintentional. They become the focus of the house. I mean, the
Yes.
energy, it kind of revolves around them. And sometimes it's intentional. I remember times I felt very manipulated.
Yeah.
But other times, they're living in their own chaos,
Mm-hmm.
and it just spreads throughout the house. So I don't want to diminish the heartache and the way that my older two faced those challenges. They were it was just as hard on them as it was on my youngest.
Yeah.
But they were able to manage and get through it and get the help they needed before he did.
Right. And that's the key is everybody is different when it comes to what coping strategies they have and what they're willing to, I don't know if that's the right wording, but what they're willing to do in terms of finding or getting the help.
Yeah. And he was 15. They were a little bit older, so maybe that
Makes a
had
big
something
difference. It
it had
does.
something to do with it. But I feel I'm very proud of all three of them and how they have all come through this. But with my youngest, what was hardest is that I felt responsible for him. I felt like I had to, in the beginning, I felt like I needed to fix him.
Mm-hmm.
And, that caused a lot of turmoil in my own life of feeling like I can't figure out how to do this. How do I help him? I can't figure this out.
Yeah.
And so I know that he is 33 now. And between 15 and 33, I dealt with this until last year. He finally got the help he needed, but he was ready. We
Yes.
we had helped him get into, therapy and do things, but it never lasted. It never worked because he wasn't ready. And it wasn't until he was 32 that he said to me, he called me one night and said, "Mom, I can't do this anymore. I need help." And that was that was such
Ah,
a wonderful sound to hear
yes.
because all these years before, we'd been in communication. I'd been doing everything I knew I could do. I
Hmm.
was trying to introduce him to new things, just trying whatever I could. Also knowing at some point in that timeline, I realized there's nothing I can do to fix him.
Yeah.
And I had to let go and face my fear of what could happen to him.
Yeah. And that is so hard as a parent.
It was the hardest, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was to admit my fear would be him, would be, I had to think, okay, what am I really afraid of every time? I had to I had him living with us for a short time, and when he crossed boundaries or didn't, I had to literally kick him out. I kicked him
Yeah.
out one time with a trash bag.
And sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and it does not make it any easier at all.
Oh, it was heart-wrenching. And um, so I had to face my fear of him being alone on the street and dying. And that terrified me more than anything, especially when he was younger.
Yeah.
But when I said that, okay, if that is what happens, I have to accept that that's my fear.
Yeah.
But I also kept telling him every time I spoke to him, which wasn't often because he didn't always want to talk, because he was in his own,
Yeah.
head and hurt, and he knew it was hurting me. But I never blamed him. I tried my best not to get angry with him because I knew it was I knew it was his, he needed help and he needed
Yeah.
diagnosed, to be diagnosed and everything.
Yeah.
So I always told him when we hung up that I loved him and I believed in him.
Oh,
And I
yes.
would tell him that I know this is not your destiny. You,
Well, I like that. That's so
and
sweet.
you have not found it yet, but this is not your destiny. So I made sure, sorry.
No, it's all good.
um, I made sure that he knew at all times that I loved him and I believed in him, even when it was hard or even when I couldn't, we didn't have the right words to say.
Yeah.
I would still end the conversation with, "I love you and I believe in you, and this is not your destiny."
Oh. I've heard
So,
people say that I love you, I believe in you, but that it's not your destiny. Oh my gosh, that is just. It doesn't make my heart break. It makes it like. I don't know how to describe it, but just like be like, oh my gosh, like squish, I guess. That's how it feels. It's all squishy, because it's beautiful.
well, thank you. I don't know where that came from. I just in my mind I just could not. This was not where he was supposed to be, or where he was uh, going to live forever.
Yeah,
um, he lived with us for the last year. It was the one time that I felt like I had resisted other times because I didn't feel it was right and it
yeah. Yep.
wasn't good for us. It affected my relationship with my husband at times, but he's very supportive and he trusted my opinion. I would have to say, please just trust me on this one. And he was open to that. He didn't fight me. And so this last year, it's almost been, let's see, he left in September, so it was a year, last September to this end of August.
Okay.
I felt like it was time for him to come. And because he had said that to me, he said, "I just can't do this anymore. I need help." And so he
Mm-hmm.
came. And we got him the help he needed. He went every week. He got, his diagnosed, and he was uh, he was just doing all the right things, and I could see him trying.
Yeah.
And he would call me sometimes, and I'm not sure, like he was having a meltdown, and
Yep.
and he would call me from work or whatever, and we'd talk through it, and I could recognize that it was growing, he was learning, he was changing, and it
Yeah.
was working. And but for the 15 years leading up to that, oh my gosh. Randy, I
Yes.
had to I had to turn my phone off at 10 o'clock at night sometimes because I didn't want to get the text and the phone calls of him telling me he was going to end his life.
Yeah.
And I had to
It's
set boundaries.
yes. Oh my goodness, yes. It is one of the absolute hardest things to do. Um, Again, I talk about in my book about my brother because boundaries are they're an easy thing to say, but they're so hard. So hard, especially when you love this person. And I mean, me to a brother is a little different than me to if it was one of my kids. So I can imagine that, for you it'd be so much more difficult. But you have to have those boundaries for a couple reasons. And I mean, your reasons might be different, but I'm gonna throw some mud on the wall and tell people some of what I think the reasons are. Because I
Yeah,
know everything. No, I'm just
I'd love to
kidding.
hear it. I'd love to hear it.
So first off, you have to protect yourself,
Hmm.
right? You absolutely have to protect yourself. You cannot put so much energy into something that you can't actually fix. And you said it, he wasn't ready at the time. Well, what else are you supposed to do? You have to protect yourself and other people in the house if they are, whether or not they live there or they're just visiting. You have to protect that. Your emotional capacity is only so big, and
Right,
you have to protect that.
right,
Again, doesn't mean you have to cut off all contact, but you have to set, like you said, those boundaries. You have to know, where do you draw that line to protect yourself. And
exactly.
I would say, I mean, there's lots of reasons, but the other big one, that's a big one, and this other big one is when they aren't ready, no matter what you do,
Hmm.
it's not going to help. It's not going
Mm-mm.
to solve a problem because they're not ready to even admit that potentially there is a problem.
Right.
Sorry, I hear my kid yelling. I don't know what she's yelling about. So you have to, sometimes you have to do, they call it that tough love. You
Yeah.
have to do tough love or else they will never understand that there is a problem. Not that they are the problem. There's a distinct difference, okay? They are
Right.
not the problem, but there is a problem that needs to be
Yes.
solved.
Yes.
And sometimes without that tough love, they're never going to realize it, right? It comes down to enabling people sometimes. I'm not saying
Right.
necessarily that you did that, but in
Well, no,
situations,
but you also don't know what is the fine line of enabling
right?
and it's really hard to know. People would say,
Yes,
"Oh, you're enabling them." I'm like, "No. First of all, you can't you have no place to say that because you are not walking in my shoes.
exactly.
And you you do not know what I go through day in and day out. And one part that you see where I've let him come back in, that is not enabling. That is me allowing him, and we have talked about it. We have set the guidelines.
Yeah.
And if he breaks them, he's back out again. But you can't turn your back on your child, ever. And what I mean by that is if they are asking for help, I can't turn my back on them.
Right? That is so important to mention. I love that you said that. Cuz like again, tough love. And I mean for the situation I kind of talk about, obviously it's from somebody that has an addiction. Um but that tough love is sometimes the only thing that goes, "Oh crap, something's wrong." Right?
Yeah.
But again, it's not in silos. What I first said about that protecting your emotional capacity is the same thing with making sure that they realize that there is a problem that needs fixed. They go hand in hand because once they realize that there might be a problem that they need help with, okay, maybe now my emotional capacity has a little bit more because the person is understanding. what I'm
Right.
trying to, why I've been the way I've been, why I've set certain boundaries, why I've said, you can't live here, whatever it happens to be. So, I mean, boundaries can adapt. I'm not going to say change. I feel like the boundary itself kind of stays the same,
Right.
but it adapts to the situation, right? The boundary is still okay if you relapse, whatever that relapse looks like,
Mm-hmm.
then you're back out on the street.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm going to adapt to the situation of you're asking for help. Of course, I want to help you and love you. So okay, let's see where this goes, but here are the guidelines or else, you know what's going to happen. So things adapt and they change and it's not easy
It's
at
not easy. It is
all.
really not easy. That's one of the reasons I started muting my phone or turning it off after 10
Yes.
o'clock. And I told him I would do that because I was breaking apart with every time he wanted me or said something or told me he was going to do, he threatened me. And that's what happened near the end. He started threatening me, not harm on me,
Mhm.
just threatening, if you don't do this for me, I'm just going to do it to myself, kind of thing. Like I'm going to end it for
Yep.
myself. Yeah.
Very
And so
common.
it's
Yep.
like you're emotionally manipulating me
Yes.
in order to take you back or send you money or something like that. And I'm not falling for this. So I
Mhm.
began openly talking to him that way and saying, and there was a point in time where he helped me when when I'm going through one of my little, lectures or whatever I was trying to do. I was trying to accomplish something and I was trying to do it lovingly, but
Yeah.
sometimes you just don't know how to say it. And he looked at me and said, "Mom, do you think I want to be like this?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I would hope not, but I don't know." That
Right.
kind of opened our line of communication because he finally said what he was feeling.
Yeah.
And but gosh, it's just so hard to know where the boundaries in line. Like you said, they adapt. They flow, they ebb and flow, they change or adapt to what the circumstance calls for. Because my main goal was never to cut him off to where I never spoke to him again. I
Right.
wanted to be able to, and to be honest with you, even now that he's in a better place and he's in a good place, I haven't heard from him in maybe 2 weeks, and he's in another state, pursuing his passion and everything. And I'll
Mhm.
text him. I may text him 3 times, and I don't mean in in one day. I mean in 3 times in 2 weeks, just saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
it'd be great to hear from you," or "I love you." And one time a couple of weeks ago, I got one that said, "Love you, Mom." And,
Aw.
so that just told me he's okay. But that's something else. What is the personality of this person? He's never
Yeah.
been one to communicate with me that well.
Right.
So, but we can get on the phone after some time and talk for hours,
Yeah.
and then I may not hear from him for several more weeks. And
Mhm.
and then the mom comes out again and can you just let me know you're okay so I know I can sleep at night, and he'll,
Right?
I have to threaten him. It's like, could you please just tell me?
Yeah.
But we kind of just have that relationship, and I just,
Which is beautiful.
it's just something I have. You learn to live with. You learn to
Yeah.
understand that's who he is.
Right? And everybody is different. So that's, yeah, you,
Yeah.
you learn.
It
And
doesn't mean I don't worry occasionally, from time to
of
time.
course not. As a parent, even if you saw them every single day, you worry about them. As
Yes,
just as being a parent.
that's right. It is. It
Yeah.
really is. But he did tell me one thing that made me feel while he was home before he left. Unfortunately, that generation of um, adults started having friends around their teens that were
Mm,
taking their own lives. They were, taking their lives.
yeah.
And I never had to, I didn't experience that for myself growing up, but I've noticed that in a lot of friends, kids or friends, we have seen that. And I'm just amazed at how many of his friends. So one day while he was living with us, it happened to a friend. And I was just, very emotional, not crying a lot or anything, but just heartbroken. And I said, I just worry about you, honey. I just worry that that might be an answer for you one day. And he said, Mom, the thing that they don't have that I have is the support that you give me.
Mic
So when
drop.
he told me that, and I'm not saying that those kids didn't have some support or the support they needed, but in his mind,
Hmm.
I give him the love and support, and he has a support system of friends and family that he
Beautiful.
feels like he wouldn't, he just reassured me in that way. He said, they don't have the support system I have.
Oh, that's beautiful. It really is.
Well,
Oh, that was big.
it was heavy.
That's
I know
heavy.
that's heavy,
Right? It's big.
but
But that's the show is pretty heavy. So
it, it is. And, especially coming to tell me that when I'm half the time wondering if I'm even doing anything the right way, you
oh,
know?
right. As a parent, we never know if we're doing that. We do what we can with the information we have at the time to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
Yeah. But I want to, I just want to encourage people that are, going through similar circumstances that, um, I hear you, I see you. I know how hard it is, but I also know that it's worth it.
Yeah. Amazing. And on that note, we're going to take a deep breath because it was heavy. And you're going to tell me about your book.
Do what?
Tell me about your book.
Oh, my book, of course.
Yes, yeah.
My
Whoo.
book.
Whoo. Okay,
I
shake
love
off the heavy because that
Yes,
felt very heavy
let's come out
today.
of this. Let's kind of pull out of the
Right.
heavy fog here and come into the light a little bit
Yeah.
because, and on a side note of the book, my youngest son has been one of my biggest supporters in this.
Yay!
Yes, and when I talked to him when I was writing it and having struggles, he's the one I would talk to, and he would encourage me, and he'd say, "Mom, you can do this. If you think you need to go on this route right now, go down this path, do it. That's what your intuition's telling you." And
I'm gonna try and make a cheering noise. I never use the sound effects, but I feel like. Yay!
oh, I love that. That's so great. But he has been. It's weird, isn't it? It's that. I think that's why we're so close.
That's good.
Because of what we've been through together. But
Yeah.
my book, Shoes That Fit Her Soul, came because during this transformation, and this is all while dealing with my son,
Yeah.
also dealing, because we had lost their dad, I had lost my job, and all these things were happening, but I was also at the same time trying to reparent myself and grow emotionally and become
Mm-hmm.
the person I would have been had my parents been able to nurture and encourage me in my life. So here, all these things are happening all at one time. And on the other side, I did have other people supporting me. Like I had a boss in my new job who really saw things in me that I didn't notice or see. He
Hmm.
was constantly encouraging me to climb higher and do more things with what he saw in me. I had
Mm-hmm.
a coach, a life coach, who saw the same things. I actually worked with her, but she really was a coach to me. And then, of
Nice.
course, my therapist. All
Yes.
three of them saw things in me that I had not seen before. So I went to, while working full time, I also took a class in life coaching, or it was a semester, and decided that I wanted to share my journey and share my insights, the things I had learned along the way. But I wanted to do it, like I said at the beginning, I wanted to do it in a more fun way. I wanted us to have fun with this because it can get deep. The healing
Yeah.
is a dark place to go. So, Shoes That Fit Her Soul is a teaching memoir about my journey, but I also give you tips, and I have these 8 steps, which is the shoe model, that I kind of introduce concepts of things that we as individuals need in our life in order to grow
Okay.
emotionally and move beyond our limitations. And the shoe part of it came in a dream, as I said. What it was, I was in my dream. I was going for a walk with a coworker,
Okay.
and so we walked every day in real life. I kept my
Oh,
shoes.
us too. Every time at work, it's lunchtime. We're
Yeah,
like, who's
you
going for a
keep your
walk?
shoes, keep
Yep.
your walking shoes under your desk.
Yep.
And so in my dream, I was like, sure, yeah, let's go. And I was clearing off my desk. I bent down to put my shoes on. Then we get up and we walk through the office building. And I feel like this is significant because so much of my dream was in the beginning of just walking through, going down the elevator, running into people, bumping into them, talking, how are you doing? Kind of talk. I even told somebody in my dream I was going to be a life coach.
Oh,
And
alrighty.
it was just really cool. So I get to the front door of the building to walk outside to go for a walk where we always went. And I look down and I'm not wearing my shoes. And I'm like, how did you walk through the whole building without your shoes on? I was only wearing socks. And so I looked to my friend and I said, I need to go back. I'm sorry. And so I went back in. And as I'm walking to the elevators, I woke up. And when I woke up, I thought, wow, that was pretty vivid. And why would I forget my shoes? And
Ah.
I laid there thinking about it for a moment or a little while. And then I finally said, I'm just going to get up. So I got up, went into the bathroom to brush my teeth, wash my face. And as I'm looking in the mirror, I felt this warmth wash over me. Yeah, I mean, literally, it felt like a warm breeze, or not even a breeze, just a warmth washed
Yeah.
over me. And I heard the words, you're going to teach women to find their shoes for their journey.
Huh.
And
Alright.
these weren't shoes for walking, these were shoes for emotional growth. And that's where the soul comes from, shoes that fit her soul. And the shoe broke down into 8 pieces of all these elements and components that we need within our life. The soul. The soul is our foundation.
I
That's
love
where we
it
start.
because you got the
Yeah.
soul of the shoe, then you got the soul of the
So,
person. Ah,
and that's where we start to build our foundation.
I love it.
That's the strength within us. It is our soul and all the things about us, our values, our
Yeah.
core beliefs. Everything is in place inside our soul, and we have to discover that. And then it goes on. I talk about the heel. The heel represents our past. It's behind the heel's behind you,
Yeah.
and it's the things we need to heal from. The arch represents a support in the
Okay.
shoe, but we need a
Yep.
support system of people around us. It also sets some boundaries. We talk about that.
Yeah.
Then the toe is always leading us in a
Okay.
forward, you know, one step at a time.
Yeah. All right. All right.
And it's letting our intuition guide us forward.
Yeah.
That's our wisdom. Your intuition is your wisdom. It's the teacher of your wise teacher. Then there's the tongue, which is our voice. The tongue is
Oh yeah.
we
Okay.
need to know that we have a voice and we need to
I
speak our
don't know
truth.
why I was picturing like a heeled shoe, like a fancy
Uh-huh,
high
stiletto or
heeled,
something.
yeah, like a stiletto shoe, like, and I'm like, tongue, what? And then I'm like, oh yeah, no, it
Yeah,
makes
it's
more sense that it
a
would be a more
sleeper athletic.
practical shoe. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
because
with you now. I'm with
you're
you.
going on the journey. You're going to
Yeah,
take this journey.
yeah, I'm with you.
And
That
so,
makes so much more sense.
yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's a diagram in the book, and the workbook goes through each of these steps, and it has exercises to help you kind of self-reflect and answer those questions for yourself. I teach a workshop to go deeper into that. But all the way through,
Okay.
the eyelets of the shoe are where your vision is and who you want to become.
Oh
The laces are the connection between everything. They tie
yeah,
it all
yeah. Okay.
together. But it's also the connection between you and me,
Do you
between
talk about the
yourself,
aglets of the shoelace?
the eyelet. Well,
No,
no, the
no. Do you
aglets.
talk about the aglets?
The
Because
aglets
Phineas and
are the tip.
Ferb, I
Yeah.
know, Phineas and Ferb taught me all about aglets, so it's very important.
I had to learn what they were. I was like, what are those tips on the shoelaces?
Yep,
But
that's the aglet.
it is the aglet, and I don't have a piece for that. But the final thing is the stitching on the shoe, and the stitching
Oh
represents
yeah.
our story. It's our life story, and it helps us understand. we get a chance to rewrite the story. If your
Mm.
story that you lived up until that point just wasn't your story, then, my story was based on what other people wrote about or said about me, or that's how I lived my life, was based
Ah.
on that. Well, it was time for me to rewrite the story and put it in my own words. So,
Yeah.
so that's the shoe that fits my soul. And I
I
help other
love
women find the
it.
shoe that fits her soul.
I love it. And okay, so when does it actually come out?
Well, like I said, the workbook is already available
Yeah.
on Amazon or on my website. The website offers a spiral bound, which for
Oh,
working
much
work
better.
works much better.
Yeah.
I've got this here. This is what it, you see here. The
Oh, yeah, yeah, much nicer. Yeah.
So the one on Amazon's very nice. It's glue bound, but it's convenient. But my website is Shoes That Fit Her Soul. And the book itself will be released in January, and we will launch everything in March. But
Amazing.
so
I love it. I love it. And is it on pre-order now then?
the book that'll be January for the book.
Oh,
The
yeah, because it's coming out in March for
Yeah,
the women. Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah, I got it.
release it in January where everyone can pre-order. Actually,
Right.
you're right about that. My publisher just hasn't told me they can pre-order all yet because they haven't put it up yet.
Yeah,
So
because I think you can start pre-ordering, like, isn't it like 6 months or something? I'm just picking out numbers randomly.
this is why my workbook is out before my book.
Amazing. I love that. So keep your eyes posted for when you can pre-order it, so you can pre-order it. Where will people follow you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and it's all at Shamayne Olivia,
Oh, good.
or
Easy.
Shoes That Fit Her Soul.
Easy. Love that. Well, thank you. This was a lot. In a good way. In a good
We
way.
did. We covered a lot in a short period of time, so it feels
Yes.
heavier. Yeah.
Right? That's why I was like, oh, we gotta shake today's episode off. Today's phew, heavy today.
Yeah. Let it go. Everything works out. It all worked out with
Right? Oh,
persistence and love and
yeah,
determination.
it's
It
just
all worked
lots.
out. It all
Yes.
worked out. And
It's just amazing.
I can say I'm in a good place now. I'm in a really good place, and I certainly understand things a whole lot more than I did 15 years ago,
Mm.
17 years ago.
Which is exactly what we were talking about. You do what you can at the time, but as we learn, we can grow, we can adapt, we can make things better.
That's right. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it.
Mic drop. Um, so thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody be sure to hit the like and subscribe button as always. Share these episodes out though. They're so important. We talked about a lot of heavy stuff. So like, yeah, tell your peeps that you need to come watch the show. Because it's important. I mean, we have to talk about these things or it's going to continue being, well, that's just the way they are because we don't talk about them. So let's talk
Hmm.
about them.
That's
And
right.
then, yeah. And then, of course, remember the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.
Mhm.
Bye.